Hey everyone, my name's Kelvin and welcome back to the third and final video in my Watercolor for Procreate series where we paint this cozy room scene. So in this part of the video we're just going to cover the paintings here, and also we're going to finish the detail on the table here. And I made two separate videos in the past for painting the couch and the rest of the elements in this scene, and I'll put links to those other videos in the description down below. So we're almost done with this scene, and I think before I do the paintings, I'm just going to finish up the details on this coffee table. And it's a little bit hard to paint, you know, with all this stuff, so I think what I'll do is I'll just turn those off for now and just focus on the sketch. So now I can see these elements a little bit more clearly. And I'll make a new layer for them, and I'll put it above everything, because these elements are actually the furthest in the front of everything else in the scene, and really easy to do. I'm just going to do them basically with the abstract round, and I think I'll choose kind of grayish color for the pot. And it's okay, I'm just going to keep it really simple. I'm not going to get too carried away with the detail in this one. Now for the plant, I'll choose a nice green color like that. Fine liner pen, and I'll just quickly, on the same layer here, I'll do the stems here for this plant. And now I'll do the leaves using the stroke-based technique with the abstract round brush. So I'm just going to press kind of soft and then harder and then softer just to kind of taper it out. And that's how I'll do all these leaves. And after I've done that sort of first layer of leaves, I think I'll add a few more leaves, but in a little bit of a darker shade of green. And these aren't in my sketch, so I'll just try to add them wherever I think they fit. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And all this is on one layer, so I'm just going to use the water blender. And I'll try to use this at a pretty small size and just sort of blend where the pot and the plants meet. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'll just turn off the sketch real quick and get a better look at this. So I want to add some detail to the top of this pot, so I'll just grab the selection tool and set it to freehand. And I'll just make a selection like this, kind of tracing out the opening. And I will feather it out just a tiny bit. Then I'll go to hue, saturation, and brightness, and I'll just darken that. And I think that's good enough for this. This is just a tiny little element. And I think I'll add one more shadow just along the side like that. I'll darken it. There, that's pretty cool. I'll turn on my sketch. Okay, looks pretty good. I think I will go in there with the water blender one more time and just mix up a few of these edges in the leaves. But I'm going to try to be careful which edges I mix up, because I want to sort of separate some of the different leaves here. So for example, I think this dark leaf is kind of more in the front, so I'll just mix up the edges in the dark leaf and then leave that edge and that edge there, so it looks like that leaf is kind of in the front. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now I want to add some sort of color variation to this, so I'll just use the freehand tool, the selection tool on freehand, and I'll just make a selection covering the side that's sort of closer to the light source, and then I'll feather that out. Then I'll go to hue, saturation, and brightness, and I'll just brighten that side of the plant and increase the saturation and then shift it a little bit towards yellow, just to give it this kind of transparent warm lighting effect. And now the coffee cup, this is going to be pretty easy. I think I'll just do it in a gray color. And now I'll turn off the sketch so I can get a better look at it, and then I can fill it in some more. Okay, that looks pretty good. I want it to be a little bit more white. It looks kind of green right now, so what I'll do is I'll just desaturate it and then brighten it a little bit. And then I want to add a opening on the top of the cup, so I'll use the selection tool for that. And I'll just go in there like this, and I'll darken that. There we go. And then for the handle, you know, this is a pretty small element, and I don't want to get too carried away with the details on little things like this, but I will try and see what this looks like if I just sort of isolate the handle. And I'll make the handle darker. And then I'll go back again and make another freehand selection, but off to the side this time. And I'll use the feathering tool here and just feather it out just until it's about, you know, about to there. Then I'll go to hue, saturation, and brightness, and then I'll brighten it back up. And this is an easy way to get a kind of a shadow that gently fades to a highlight again. And now for the coffee cup, I do need to add some shadow to that, so I think I'll just go along the side, something like that. See what that looks like. And then I'm going to turn on my background here and we can get a better look at this. So because we drew this coffee cup with the fine liner pen, it's extremely opaque. It's not going to let any of the other colors of the couch come through it. So we don't have to really worry about the coffee cup, but we do have a problem with the potted plant here. So if I turn off the couch, it looks much better. When I turn on the couch, it just sort of fades into the background there. And it's just because this is kind of transparent. So I'm just going to do the same trick that I did before. I'm just going to make a duplicate, turn off the top one, select the bottom one, and then make it pure white. And as you can see, it's still there, it's just become pure white. And I'm going to keep making copies of it until it totally blots out the couch in the background. So I've got 3 copies here. Just pinch those together. And then here's the top one with the color. So I'll turn that one on. And you can see it looks a lot better now. It really stands off the couch instead of just sort of fading into it. So I've got these 2 layers of the same plant. So I'm just going to merge them together just so it's easier for me to kind of position this. And then I can sort of arrange this scene a little bit better than maybe what was in my sketch. And the coffee cup. I think that looks pretty good. There we go. Okay, I like this arrangement. However, it doesn't have any shadows, so that's kind of why it has this kind of flat look. So if the lighting source is here and these things are sitting on the coffee table, they're going to at least cast some kind of shadow, kind of like that, kind of in line with the light source. So I'm going to go and find the layer with the tables. So it's this layer here. And I'm going to go in there with the selection tool. And I'm going to make a selection kind of just past each of these elements, kind of where I imagine the shadow is going to be. And because this is a plant, I made the shadow kind of spiky. And then I'll use add to add another selection. This time for the coffee cup, kind of like that. That's cool. And then I'll feather it out. And it looks like my coffee cup selection did get a little bit screwed up. Yeah, I think I have to do the coffee cup again. And then just slightly darken it. There we go. Just to give the hint of a shadow. These things, it just shows in the scene that these things really exist. So with those simple details done, I can move on to doing the little paintings. So they're going to be up here. And I'm just going to do them with the fine liner pen. So I'll grab that one. And usually the fine liner pen can look a bit dark. So we'll just try this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I've got all the frames kind of roughed out here. And now I need to add some shading, because if I leave them just like this, they look a little bit flat, a little bit boring. And it's pretty easy to add shading, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'll make another layer on top of these picture frames, and I'll do all the shading on that layer. And once I've kind of dialed it in, I'll just merge everything together. And I'm just going to draw on where the shadow ought to be. So I'm going to do first on the inside of this frame. And it might help if I set this to multiply. There, it's a little easier to see. So after I do that first kind of line shape there, I'll grab the eraser tool, and then where the frame miters together, I'll just erase it off, just like that. And now for the other shadow, I'll grab that fine liner pen again, same dark color, and I'll do the outside of the frame this time. So because the light source is over here, it's catching the highlight here and catching the highlight here, and everything else is in shadow. And then where these corners miter together, I'm just sort of cutting it off at a slight angle. And then later on, I can go and lower the opacity of this layer and just sort of raise it just to a midpoint, just to give this a little bit more kind of 3D kind of a look like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the shading to all of these frames. Okay, I think that's it for the shadows. And they do look a little bit strong, but if I zoom out, I'm actually kind of okay with it. Maybe I'll just lighten these a tiny bit, just like that. And then just to keep everything simple and organized, I'll just merge it with the picture frames. So now everything is on the one layer there. And now for all these little tiny paintings, I'm just going to fast forward through this because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But I do want to point out that I recommend doing each one with similar colors. So each one of these would probably end up being like, this one is mostly shades of blue, this one is mostly shades of, reddish, and the similar kind of thing for all of these. So here we go. I've finished all of the little tiny paintings, And I really think they look nice when I try to conserve colors and kind of use a similar color scheme for each one. And now with these done, basically our whole scene is done, and I'm going to go ahead and turn everything else on and then show you what we've painted. So there we go, our super cute, cozy room scene is all done. Hopefully you enjoyed this short little video series here. I will, in the description here, I will put a download link so you can download this whole image that we painted here at the full size, just in case you want to print it out and use it for inspiration. And also, this artwork was really inspired by that German artist, Ireville, and I'll put a link to her portfolio in the description as well. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.